Hello fellow gardeners and welcome back to Smart Garden. If you're watching this video today, you're probably someone who takes garden soil seriously, and you should. After all, healthy soil is the foundation of a thriving garden, producing abundant vegetables, gorgeous flowers, and robust plants that can weather any storm. But here's something you might not have considered. What if I told you that the secret to supercharging your soil could be hiding in something as humble as corn? Not just any corn though. Because the way you prepare it before adding it to your soil makes all the difference. Today, we're settling the ultimate debate by putting cooked corn head-to-head with raw corn to discover which one truly transforms your garden into the thriving paradise you've always dreamed of. So, grab your gardening gloves, and let's dig into this fascinating experiment that might completely change how you think about food waste and soil enrichment. The Great Corn Conundrum. Understanding what's at stake. Before we declare a winner in this soil showdown, we need to understand what happens when any organic matter enters your garden ecosystem. Your soil isn't just dirt, it's a living, breathing community of microorganisms, fungi, bacteria, and countless other microscopic helpers that work tirelessly to break down organic materials and convert them into plant-available nutrients. When you introduce something like corn into this system, you're essentially feeding this underground workforce, but the form in which you deliver that food determines how efficiently they can process it and how quickly your plants benefit from the results. The corn conundrum exists because both cooked and raw corn contain valuable nutrients including nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and abundant organic matter that can improve soil structure. But the state of that corn dramatically affects how your soil community responds to this generous donation. Raw corn. Nature's unprocessed gift and its hidden challenges. Let's start by exploring what happens when you take raw corn and incorporate it directly into your garden beds. On the surface, this approach seems logical and natural. After all, fallen fruits and vegetables decompose in nature all the time without any human intervention, right? However, when you bury raw corn kernels in your garden, you're introducing several variables that might not work in your favor. The most significant issue is that raw corn kernels are living seeds with one primary biological directive: to grow. When you plant them in moist, nutrient-rich garden soil, they often do exactly that, sprouting enthusiastically and creating an unintended corn crop right where you wanted to grow tomatoes or lettuce. This isn't just inconvenient, it means those kernels are using soil nutrients to grow, rather than decomposing and releasing nutrients back into the soil for your intended crops. Beyond the sprouting problem, raw corn presents another serious challenge that many gardeners discover too late. It's incredibly attractive to wildlife and pests. Squirrels, raccoons, rats, mice, and even neighborhood dogs can smell raw food waste from impressive distances, and they'll happily excavate your carefully prepared garden beds to claim their prize. This foraging behavior doesn't just remove the corn you intended as a soil amendment. It also disturbs plant roots, creates holes and tunnels, and can introduce additional problems like disease transmission or further pest attraction. The decomposition timeline for raw corn is also considerably slower than many gardeners expect. While the outer kernel coating softens gradually, the dense interior takes weeks or even months to break down completely, meaning the nutrient release happens at a glacial pace that doesn't benefit the current growing season. There's also a more technical consideration that experienced gardeners recognize: the nitrogen immobilization problem. When soil microorganisms begin breaking down high-carbon organic materials like raw corn kernels, they temporarily consume available nitrogen from the surrounding soil to fuel their decomposition work. This creates a temporary nitrogen deficit that can actually starve your existing plants, causing yellowing leaves and stunted growth until the decomposition process completes and releases nitrogen back into the system. While corn kernels aren't as problematic as corn stalks or cobs in this regard, adding large quantities of raw kernels can still trigger this nutrient lockup effect, creating more problems than solutions in the short term. Now let's turn our attention to cooked corn and discover why this preparation method fundamentally changes the soil enrichment equation. Cooked corn. The processed advantage that changes everything. When you cook corn, whether by boiling, steaming, roasting, or grilling, you're essentially jump-starting the decomposition process through heat-induced chemical changes. The cooking process breaks down complex starches into simpler sugars, softens tough cell walls, and denatures proteins, making everything more accessible to soil microorganisms. Think of it as pre-digesting the corn for your soil's microbial workforce, allowing them to process it exponentially faster than they could handle raw material. This accelerated breakdown means nutrients become plant-available much sooner, often within weeks rather than months, giving your current crops immediate benefits rather than feeding next season's garden. The cooking process also solves our sprouting dilemma completely. Heat sterilizes corn kernels, destroying their germination potential and ensuring that your soil amendment stays exactly that, rather than transforming into an invasive corn plantation. This peace of mind alone makes cooked corn superior for direct soil incorporation, but the benefits extend even further. Cooked corn is significantly less attractive to scavenging wildlife because cooking alters the aromatic compounds that pests use to locate food sources. When you cook corn, particularly through boiling or steaming, you also create a secondary benefit that many gardeners overlook: nutrient-rich cooking water. That liquid gold contains dissolved starches, sugars, minerals, and water-soluble vitamins that leached from the corn during cooking. Rather than pouring this valuable resource down the drain, smart gardeners let it cool completely and then use it to water their gardens or moisten their compost piles, ensuring that no nutritional value goes to waste. This cooking water provides an immediate nutrient boost that plants can absorb directly through their roots, while the cooked kernels continue breaking down over subsequent weeks to provide sustained nutrition. The composting solution, the best of both worlds. While cooked corn holds clear advantages for direct soil incorporation, the absolute optimal method for enriching your garden with corn involves the composting process. Composting transforms both cooked and raw corn into finished humus that delivers maximum benefits without any of the drawbacks we've discussed. When you add corn to your compost pile, whether it's leftover kernels, cobs, or even chopped stalks, you're feeding a highly efficient decomposition system that operates at elevated temperatures, accelerating breakdown while eliminating pathogens and destroying seed viability. The finished compost contains a perfect balance of nutrients and forms that plants can immediately access, along with beneficial microorganisms that continue improving soil health long after application. The composting approach accommodates both cooked and raw corn because the pile's elevated temperature and active microbial community overcome the challenges that plague direct soil incorporation. Raw kernels that would sprout in garden beds are neutralized by compost heat, while the diverse microbial population prevents the nitrogen immobilization that can occur in regular soil. Cooked corn adds its pre-processed advantages to the mix, breaking down even faster and contributing readily available sugars that fuel the composting process itself. The key is properly managing your compost pile by maintaining appropriate carbon to nitrogen ratios, ensuring adequate moisture, and turning regularly to provide oxygen for aerobic decomposition. When incorporating corn into your compost, remember that size matters significantly. Whole cobs take considerably longer to break down than loose kernels, so chop them into smaller chunks using pruning shears or a machete before adding them to your pile. Corn stalks should be chopped into 6-inch pieces, or smaller, to speed decomposition and prevent them from creating air pockets that disrupt the composting process. Layer your corn materials with nitrogen-rich additions, like grass clippings or kitchen scraps, and balance everything with brown materials such as dry leaves, shredded newspaper, or cardboard to maintain optimal composting conditions. The ultimate verdict: making corn work for your garden. So what's the final answer to our cooked versus raw corn showdown? If you're adding corn directly to your garden beds rather than composting first, cooked corn wins decisively. It breaks down faster, won't sprout unexpected corn plants, attracts fewer pests, and delivers nutrients to your current crops rather than tying them up in slow decomposition processes. However, the true champion method transcends this simple binary choice: composting all your corn materials, whether cooked or raw, and then incorporating that finished nutrient-rich compost throughout your garden. This approach maximizes nutrient availability, improves soil structure, supports beneficial microbial populations, and eliminates all the potential problems associated with direct incorporation. The beauty of this discovery is that it transforms corn from mere food waste into a valuable garden resource. Every corn cob, every leftover kernel, and every cooking liquid becomes an opportunity to build better soil and grow healthier plants. This sustainable approach reduces landfill contributions while closing the nutrient loop in your garden ecosystem, creating a self-sustaining cycle that improves with each growing season. Whether you're enriching beds for spring vegetables, building soil health for perennial flowers, or establishing foundation nutrition for fruit trees, properly processed corn materials deliver the organic matter and nutrients that transform average dirt into exceptional growing medium. If you found this ultimate soil showdown helpful and want to transform your gardening practices with more evidence-based experiments and practical growing advice, make sure to subscribe to Smart Garden and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest discoveries. Share this video with fellow gardeners who are ready to think differently about food waste and soil health, because together we can build a community of smarter, more sustainable gardeners. Now get out there and start composting that corn. Your soil will thank you with the most abundant harvest you've ever grown.